Bernie Sanders has decided to hire a pretty large group of women in leadership roles within his campaign. So the Bernie Sanders 2020 presidential campaign has announced 15 new hires in key positions, 10 of whom are women. And this is incredibly important. He wants the campaign to be as representative of the individuals that he wants to represent. And so having more women involved is of course incredibly important. Overall, the national leadership team is around 70% women. One of the women who has been hired for a leadership role, it's his campaign political director, says, I think it's important to ensure that a campaign is reflective of the individuals they're trying to reach, and a campaign is better served when it has a more representative staff. As a grassroots organizer, when I've worked in diverse teams, it just creates more dynamic and positive outcomes. And I also want to note that he made a point, or at least the campaign, I keep saying the campaign made a point to hire women of color as well. And so this is great news. I'm really happy that he's doing that.
So look, it's great that there's diversity, and obviously we value that as progressives in and of its own right, not because you're checking off a box, but because they actually have lived those lives and have that perspective that could help a campaign understand the perspective of all Americans, as evidenced by the quote that Anna read you. But I also deeply like how progressive this team is. And these are all heavy hitters from the progressive community, and they're not DC political operatives, and I know that because I've seen a lot of their work and appreciated their work for a long time. So I mean, look, I don't know them all, but I could just speak to the ones that I know a little bit, like Sarah Badawi, Deputy Political Director, previously Legislative Affairs Director for Progressive Change Campaign Committee, wonderful progressive. So I mean, he's not picking people just on, and because this is the right-wing way of thinking. He's just picking people based on their gender or their, no, he's picking wonderful progressives that are luckily also giving him all these different perspectives, right? Ariana Jones is great. Brianna Joy Gray is the National Press Secretary. She was just at The Intercept. She's fantastic. She knows politics inside and out, is a great progressive. So thrilled with that. And then Faz Shakir is his campaign manager. Ari Rabin-Hat is chief of staff. Josh Orton, these are guys who have been in progressive circles forever. David Sirota is a communications advisor and speechwriter. Senior advisor is Tim Tagaris. These are all diehard progressives. So one, I like that they're in that side because I'm a progressive and I like that. And number two, like Bernie Sanders, all those folks have earned credibility in progressive circles because they're not Johnny-come-latelys. They've been working at this for a long, long time. This is the fruition of that young progressive movement now being in a position to be able to win. So, and they've all got deep legislative histories, but insisted on being progressive in some places that were more establishment places, some places that were wonderfully progressive. It's a great team that he's put together. Look, and now some of them, of course, immediately attacked. The establishment says don't attack anyone, and then they immediately attack. So look, I'll mention briefly that David Sirota, and I'll be upfront with you guys, he was a TYT contributor. I like David a lot, okay? So they came after him, they said, oh, you were supposedly a journalist and now you're working for Bernie Sanders. So what? I mean, there's 1,000 people who worked in media, then worked in politics, and then worked in media. In fact, the establishment media is littered with them.
Yes.
And no one ever raises an eyebrow over it. But if a progressive ever does it, oh yeah, well, can you be objective about it? And so Brianna Joy Gray was just at the Intercept. So what? And the Intercept generally looks at things from I don't want to speak for that, but does it from a progressive perspective. Yeah, so does the Nation. And then there are people who do it from a conservative perspective, and then there are people who hide their perspective. I mean, again.
CNN just hired the spokeswoman for Jeff Sessions, and they initially hired her for an editorial role pertaining to the 2020 election. They later changed her role to contributor, so she wouldn't have any editorial power because she shouldn't. But like, this is common in this world, unfortunately, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I don't. It depends.
It depends.
Are you
Sure.
Are you open and honest about it? Are you? What did you work in journalism before? If you're going to a news organization like CNN, well, she never worked in journalism. Whereas David Sirota, for example, used to be press secretary for Bernie Sanders when he was in the House of Representatives. Okay, like what they want to do, and here comes Edward Isaac Dovere again. He went from Politico to the Atlantic, huge, attack against David Sirota, and he's like, I can't believe you were criticizing the other candidates, and then you joined Bernie Sanders' team. Have you ever read any of his pieces? Edward Isaac Dovere attacks Bernie Sanders and progressives nonstop. He's the one that did that hit piece on Politico. In Politico on Our Revolution. He's the one that wrote all those absurd things about like Bernie Sanders' management is problematic at Our Revolution, and then he later admits in the piece he doesn't manage Our Revolution and legally can't. Right? So that's who he is, and then for him to turn around and go, no. Look, I attack all progressive candidates, but hey, I'm a journalist. When you point out fundraising or Beto O'Rourke or facts about other candidates, you're not a journalist. No, I'm tired of that nonsense. You look, and then they start nitpicking, and Sirota deleted some tweets. In my opinion, he shouldn't have, but who cares? The question is, are you guys being open and honest about who you support? No, the establishment media says, no, I don't support anybody. I write attack articles against progressives day in, day out, but hey, I'm neutral. People feed me Oppo research and I write it, but I'm neutral. But how dare anyone who ever worked in the media work for Bernie Sanders? No, no way. So we're not gonna do unilateral disarmament. You wanna fire everyone who worked in politics and media? Do you wanna do that deal? I don't think you wanna do that deal, do you? Okay, you only want a double standard against progressives. We're not gonna have it. This is a fantastic team. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.